So the saying, losing the plot is better than following an old one, came from what I observed in the technology space, but also in the big corporate space, and in how all of a sudden it seemed as if the business models that had been running for, you know, up to a century were now being completely reinvented, simply because the markets were now becoming infiltrated with so many competitors within the same sector that these existing companies had to reinvent themselves. So if we look at Apple were doing computers and laptops for a long time. That was their business model. And then all of a sudden they decided to do a music player. And then all of a sudden they decided to do a phone. Were they losing the plot? I say it was better than them following the old one, because they at the time weren't winning the computer war, right? That was clearly being dominated by Microsoft. But if you look at where Apple are now and look at what's happened since people had the iPod, and the iPod put them into the mass market, and then people were more trusting to then think about going to Apple for a phone, right? People weren't going to Apple because they thought they would make a great phone. They were going to Apple because Apple, well, they innovated, but also it was a style statement for a lot of people, right? Apple using the iPhone to then bring in the iPads, and all of a sudden people are buying more MacBooks, MacBook Pros and MacBook Airs and all the rest of it, right? So you go into certain areas of London, all you see now is Macs, right? And you know, it's not just the reserve of those who are in the music industry or, you know, video production and graphic design. You now see entrepreneurs, right, with Macs, who clearly don't need that kind of functionality, but they use it because they bought into the value that Apple project onto their products on all of their gadgets. If you look at companies like Tesco, I mean Tesco, Sainsbury's, the AA, these guys have had very basic business models. They did one thing for a very long time. All of a sudden they're now all doing insurance, they're all doing credit cards, they're all doing mobiles, they're all going into you know, different areas. A lot of them have become, you know, internet service providers, and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And it made me realize that when people say, are you losing the plot? Sometimes, and I think more than often, I think entrepreneurs should lose the plot. And I think losing the plot causes you to explore different areas of your industry and different areas of business, and mashing up different types of businesses with new brands and all the rest of it. When Cadbury's put out the advert, the Phil Collins In the Night with the gorilla doing the drums, I mean, it had nothing to do with chocolate, but it was a groundbreaking advert. Were they losing the plot? I think they were. Did it work for them? Yes, it did. And I think that for entrepreneurs today, losing the plot should be part of your business model. I think you should be allowed to lose the plot on a regular basis, so that you can explore new ideas and do things very differently. You know, we are in a time where things are constantly changing. People are, you know, expecting, you know, people's expectations for things are heightening, and you know, technology and media and all these things are changing the way, the very basic ways in which everything is now being done. And, you know, we're not quite sure what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 or even 20 years. For the next generations to come, you know, you watching this video now could be, you know, somebody who initiates something which is fundamental to the way in which our children live our lives, right? But if you stick to the current plot and you don't lose it, then you may not think out of the box and potentially do something which changes the world.